Hi guys, it's Mr. On. I wanted to upload some notes about Hamlet before you guys get started on it tomorrow. I would highly recommend just kind of going through these notes before you watch the movie because it'll just kind of clear up some distinctions between the characters and their relationships. Okay, so watch this or read this before watching the movie. Over here, I'm in Notability, obviously. Over on the left, you have a list of characters in the play. It says Dramatis Personae. I like this little version of it. This is from the original folio that Shakespeare would have published way back in the day. But I'm simply using it as a list of characters that you can see. Okay? All right. First of all, let's do some stuff. Okay, so our primary, I'm going to do some notes here. I'm going to write here on to the right of this list of characters. First of all, we have our main character, who is Hamlet. Hamlet. I didn't bring my good stylus home. Sorry about that. Okay. And I'm gonna underline it over here on the left. It says Hamlet, son to the late and nephew to the present king. Okay. So that means he's got some parents. He has a parent, which was his father, who, guess what? His name was also Hamlet. Haha. We'll put Hamlet Sr. just to make it a distinctive. Okay. He also has a mother named Gertrude. Gertrude. Okay, I'm going to go over to the left here. I'm going to underline ghost of Hamlet's father. And I'm going to underline Gertrude because that's what we put. Okay. Why is Hamlet Sr. or Hamlet's father called a ghost? It's because he's dead. He no longer is there. Okay. Obviously, in politics, it's rough to not have a sovereign head of state. So if there's no king, then that's kind of a disadvantage for the country. So, as was the custom, whenever in previous times, if you had a parent who died, then you would have a brother or a sister of that parent, depending on the gender, come in and take over as like the foster parent. So if you lost your dad and your dad had a brother, the brother would act as the father for your family. It kind of makes sense, right? Everyone's part of the same family. If you lost your mom and your mom had a sister, then she would kind of be like the foster mother to your family. So looking at our situation here, Hamlet Sr.'s brother is Claudius. Oops, I think I'm going to run out of space here. It's Claudius. And he is up here at the top of the list, which I'll underline. So already, this is very complicated because Hamlet is already related to Claudius. That's his uncle, okay? So I'm going to just kind of draw some lines here, okay? Potentially, there can be a lot of complicated feelings that Hamlet might feel toward Claudius, right? You're not my real dad, or like, why are you the king and why am I not the king? I think the knowledge in the play, I think what they're going off with is that Hamlet is a little bit too young to be the ruler yet. And so that's why they're kind of going with Claudius as the king. But obviously there can be some resentment. But at the same time, there could also be some, I don't know, good feelings, which I'll indicate in green, I guess. Right? That maybe Hamlet is thankful that his uncle took over so he doesn't have to be king. Maybe he's glad that there's a father figure in his life. Maybe he's glad that his uncle stepped up and became, king and is taking up the responsibility to do that, right? Same thing, right? Claudius could feel the same way. That's why I drew the arrows with arrowheads on both sides. Claudius could have complicated feelings towards his nephew as well, right? Claudius probably knows that Hamlet is the heir, which means, his position of power is not eternal because at some point Hamlet's going to take over. Maybe Claudius sees Hamlet as with some suspicion. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he cares for him, right? So already with this death of Hamlet Sr., there's already some complicated and interesting things kind of going on. Okay? Also, there are some complicated and interesting feelings that Hamlet might have toward his mother, right? And vice versa, that Gertrude might feel toward Hamlet as well. For instance, Hamlet might be upset with his mother because it's like, why did you marry someone else? Or why do you already have to remarry someone? I don't want you to necessarily get too caught up in the incest part. Obviously, this is not incest. This is just sort of a practical sort of thing. But Gertrude might feel the same way toward Hamlet, right? That she's worried about him, and so she feels like his position might be in danger, which is why she married Claudius, so Claudius could be the king. So already Shakespeare's kind of set up like this fairly complicated situation, right? There's a lot of emotional and political complexity kind of going on here. Okay, let's keep going. There is, we got Claudius, we underlined him. Okay, there is another character. His name is Polonius. I'm going to write him over here. P-O-L-O, Polonius. I'm going to underline him over here on the side. It says Lord Chamberlain as his position. That's basically kind of like the Secretary of State or the Chief of Staff. So he's kind of like the right-hand man to the king. I put like a little crown on Claudius to kind of represent that he's the king. Okay, so Polonius isn't necessarily royalty, but he's chief of staff, secretary of state, that sort of stuff. I've put him on the same level in terms of my notes as Claudius and Gertrude and Polonius because they're all adults of the same age. Polonius has 2 children. He's the father of 2, and I'm going to put them down here because they're of similar age to Hamlet. Okay, one of them, his son, is named Laertes, Laertes, and his daughter named Ophelia. So I know Laertes is spelled a little bit strange, but it's not a weird pronunciation. It's just Laertes, okay? So Polonius has 2 children, Laertes and Ophelia. I'm going to underline it over here in my notes. Ophelia and Laertes. Oops. Laertes. Okay. One thing that you should know is, Hamlet and Laertes and Ophelia are all about the same age, but there's a little bit of a love triangle with Hamlet. Not love triangle. There's just a little bit of a love relationship between Hamlet and Ophelia. Okay. I hope you can see immediately that this gets really awkward for Polonius. Because if you think about it, his daughter is dating the kid of his boss, right? So obviously that can create all kinds of complications, right? He's going to put pressure on Ophelia possibly to not mess things up with the crown prince of the country that they are in because it's going to mess things up for him at work, all this other sort of stuff. So a bit of a complication with this love relationship. Okay, there are some other people you need to know. Let's move on. One thing that's important to know is that all these people I'm going to try to pick a suitable color here, that all these people are Danish that we've talked about so far. These are all Danish people, which means they are from Denmark. Okay, it says up here, right, for Claudius, if you look all the way to the left, it says Claudius, king of Denmark, which means Hamlet is prince of Denmark, Gertrude is queen of Denmark, okay? So all these people that we've talked about so far are Danish. However, there are people who are not Danish. Let's pick a different color for them. Should we do purple? We'll do purple. Okay, there are people from Norway. Okay, which, they're from Norway. And they are the rivals of the Danes, so they're enemies here. So, very interesting things going on even in Norway. So, there's a guy named Fortinbras. Is he here on the left? No, he isn't actually. Very interesting. Oh, there we go. There was a Fortinbras. The Prince of Norway, his name is Fortinbras. This is an excellent first name. I expect some of you to name your children that. Here's Fortinbras on the left all the way. So Fortinbras is the Prince of Norway, similar to Hamlet is the Prince of Denmark. Fortinbras had a father. Guess what his father's name was? Yeah, you guessed it. It's Fortinbras Sr. Don't get mad. People name their children after them all the time. I'll put Fortinbras Sr. to kind of differentiate it. Guess what? Fortinbras Sr., he's dead. Oh, except I have some more news. Guess who killed him? You're never going to guess it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so amazing. Because the person who killed Fortinbras Sr. is Hamlet's dad. So obviously, Fortinbras, the Prince of Norway, doesn't like Denmark because they're the ones who are responsible for killing his dad. Okay, so we have some built-in enmity. In the same way, Fortinbras, the prince, he's not the head of his country. The guy who's in charge of Norway is actually his uncle. They never say what his name is, they just call him Norway. But if you notice, the pattern here in Norway is very similar to that of Denmark, right? You've got a prince, you've got an absent father because he's dead, and you have an uncle who's the king. Okay, so sort of a parallel situation there. Very interesting. And then you have this this animosity between Norway and Denmark because of what happened. All right, some other people I'm going to add, not too much longer here. Some other people to add on to our list of people. Okay, one person is Horatio. He's over here on the left. I'm going to underline his name. Oops. Horatio. What you need to know about Horatio is that he is Hamlet's best friend. They're biffles. They're ride or die. Okay, so you'll notice during the play that Horatio and Hamlet are best buddies, and they confide in each other, that other kind of stuff. There's a bunch of other characters here, but I'm going to name just two more, who are important. Again, two spectacular names. Rosencrantz and then Guildenstern. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. They always show up together. There's actually a joke in the play said since that they show up together all the time that some of the characters don't know which one is which. I know, hilarious. So let me go to my left here, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. They are also characters. I can't underline it, but you guys get it. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are childhood friends. Childhood friends. So these are the equivalent of, I don't know, like people that you were friends with, like in elementary school, that sort of thing. And they come and they're a part of the play as well. So, sorry about my slightly messy notes. I didn't have my good stylus, so I can write it very neat. But, again, this is all before we read the play or watch the play, right? And we can already see that Shakespeare has, because of some events that happened before the play, there's a lot of complicated relationships between characters, complicated relationships between countries. Okay, there's a lot of intrigue already built in. So, I wanted to give you these notes so you can kind of understand what everyone's relationship is with each other and kind of make some quicker sense out of the movie. Okay, that's it.